Hey YouTube, welcome to AutonoGeeks, and today I'll be telling you the 5 reasons I chose to pre-order a Polestar 2 over a Tesla Model 3. Before we jump in, remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel as we're still growing and putting out more content, and follow us on Instagram at AutonoGeeks. So I'll have reviews of both the Polestar 2 and the Tesla Model 3 individually. They'll be in depth, but if there's anything that you'd like to see specifically from either of those reviews that are coming out in the future, comment down below and I'll make sure to take those into account when I release those videos. So if you've been keeping up with the news from Polestar 2 and the reviews that have been put out there recently by all of the journalists that Polestar has shared their vehicle with, then I'm sure you've noticed that the Polestar 2 is really similar to the Model 3 in a lot of different aspects. But that brings us to point number 1 of why I pre-ordered the Polestar 2 over the Tesla Model 3, and that is the design. The Polestar 2 has a very Scandinavian design. It looks wide, it looks aggressive, it has very strong body lines. The Model 3, in contrast, has a more soft and rounded perspective to it. It's more curvy, it has a more aerodynamic shape, and although it does look aggressive, it looks less so in this edgy way that the Polestar 2 has managed to capture. Honestly, to my eye, the Model 3 kind of looks like an annoyed fish out of water. Please don't hate me, Model 3 fans. I think the Polestar 2 looks fantastic to me, and I'm sure this is polarizing to some people, but I think the front end is one of the best that I've seen in any vehicle in a long time. I've been struggling as I've been cross-shopping and trying to look for cars that might be a little better for me than the Polestar 2. I just haven't found anything that attracts me from a design perspective as much as the Polestar does. The way that the front end and the grille is designed to make it look so wide and aggressive, as well as the wheel arches and the overall fastback design. A lot of people who are talking about the Polestar 2 today talk about how the body style is somewhere between a sedan and a crossover because of the battery pack making it a necessity to lift the vehicle a little bit higher. The way that I see it, honestly, it doesn't look that high to me. I had an opportunity to check out the Polestar 2 in person in San Francisco, and although it was on an elevated platform, so it's kind of difficult to tell from a height perspective, it still looked very sedanish to me. But that style, that fastback look just really appeals to me personally. Overall, the design thing is personal preference, but that's just one reason that I am deciding to pre-order the Polestar 2 instead of ordering a new Tesla Model 3. That brings us to reason number 2, practicality over performance. There's no doubt that the Tesla Model 3 will beat the Polestar 2 off the line. There's no doubt that from a purely performance standpoint, the Tesla Model 3 just has more to offer. But doing 0 to 60 runs when I'm going to a grocery store or going to work will get old at some point, and the reality is I just have to drive this thing every day. So there are certain trade-offs I'm making towards the Polestar 2 as opposed to the Model 3 based on that fact. The hatchback is one really great example. The hatchback is just more versatile and more useful in everyday life. For camping and maybe going to a drive-in theater or trying to fit chunkier items into the vehicle, the hatchback just provides so much more than the traditional sedan trunk or boot. But also just the interior layout in general. I've been able to spend some time in Teslas in my testing. The minimalist, clean design is great. It's this avant-garde, futuristic thing that just feels so much different than every other vehicle on the market. But from a driving perspective, I've noticed that I tend to sort of miss the cluster. Now I know that I haven't spent every day with a Tesla to be able to get used to the fact that I have to look off to the side. But for me, I really like the idea of just complete ease of use. Having more controls, having more buttons accessible to me, having a traditional cluster, and also in addition to the portrait touchscreen is, just another element of practicality. But an even more important aspect for me when it comes to practicality is the safety of the vehicle. Volvo is very well known for its safety, and I expect that to carry over directly into the Polestar 2. Whereas the Tesla Model 3 is more innovative, they're more fast-moving, but for people using those features every day, they're sometimes beta testing some things that may not be completely validated. The feature is still in beta, so please pay attention. And finally, another thing that I think I'll appreciate from the practicality perspective is that the Polestar 2 seems to be a little bit more towards the luxury side of premium. The Model 3 definitely is expensive, but one of the complaints that people get is that it doesn't really feel so luxury and premium like a German brand might. There's definitely some pros and cons to that because they do have that clean, airy design within the Model 3. I just think that the Polestar 2 will give a more luxury premium feel. Now on to point number 3, and that is quality. Tesla has not been known for putting out the best quality vehicles out there. I will notice and be endlessly driven crazy by poor quality in a vehicle. And I'm talking about panel gaps, I'm talking about overpaint on the different body panels, whether it's an A surface, which means the exterior of the vehicle that someone can see and interact with, or the B surfaces, like under the trunk. I'll just notice that and it'll drive me nuts. Volvo is known for putting out very high quality vehicles, and again, I expect that same DNA to translate over to the Polestar 2. They do have a new plant in China. When vehicles are new and they're designed as new, or they're being built in a manufacturing location that doesn't have a lot of experience building cars, or even building that car, there are going to be some quality issues that will get smoothed out over time. I don't expect the Polestar 2 to be perfect from a quality perspective. I think that the DNA that Volvo brings in terms of putting out quality products, their process that they have in place already, their learnings that they've had over time will just improve the quality of the Polestar 2. If I'm going to put my trust in one manufacturer over another, I'm going to give Tesla a few more years for them to solidify their manufacturing and quality processes. But at the end of the day, no one really knows what the quality of the Polestar 2 will be like. And the only way that we'll really find out is when they start making their deliveries to customers, and I'll be the first to tell you exactly how the quality is when I receive mine. For reason number 4, we're going with one of the biggest selling points of the Polestar 2, and that's the world's first native Android operating system. Manufacturers have not been known to make great infotainment systems. In terms of what we use every day, like our iPhones and our Androids and the operating systems that we've gotten used to, auto manufacturers just have a long way to go. And I think Tesla was the first to show that you can have a user experience in terms of the infotainment like you get in other products like an iPhone. But I'm excited to see how Polestar pulls it off using Google's expertise in developing these operating systems and how that integrates into the vehicle. So far, the reviews have been amazing, and I think that over time, they're just going to continue to add more and more functionality to that Android Automotive OS through their over-the-air update. Unfortunately, that means I'll probably have to switch from using Amazon Alexa and Apple Music to using Google Home and Spotify, but hey, we'll see how it goes, and I'll also do another video on that too. People say that Teslas are kind of like a smartphone on wheels. I think that the Polestar 2 is going to be the closest that you actually get to that using the Android OS integrated natively into the vehicle. And last but not least, reason number 5 why I'm choosing the Polestar 2 over a Tesla Model 3 is its uniqueness. So I live in California and there are Tesla Model 3s everywhere. It's kind of like you're going out into the world and seeing another BMW 3 Series or something like that. They're just kind of losing their uniqueness. They're less of a talking point now than they were when the Model S first came out, or even when the Model X first came out. You don't see those as much as you do the Model 3, but Tesla has broken into the mainstream. They've done it, they've accomplished their goal, but that comes with the downside of having a less unique product. People like to be different. I like to be different. Didn't realize I was a hipster. But it's true. I like standing out, I like being an early adopter, and I am excited to have something that very few people will have out of the gate when the Polestar 2 is making deliveries in the United States. So before we end this video, there is one more thing that I want to discuss, and that's Tesla's autopilot. I know a lot of people who own Teslas and are real fans of the brand and the vehicles will say that that is probably the biggest differentiator when compared to other EVs or other vehicles in general. And I'll be honest and say that I love autopilot. I love what Tesla has done for the industry with autopilot. But I hate how autopilot has created this unsafe perception of how capable these level 2 driving assist features actually are. But unfortunately, autopilot has just done a poor job of marketing its actual capabilities, and now there's a swath of the population who thinks that Teslas are full self-driving or more capable than they actually are. All of these systems, including autopilot, all require the drivers to be engaged and have their hands on the steering wheel. Polestar 2 will have a level 2 driving assist system, just like Tesla has their level 2 autopilot system. The difference is I expect the Polestar 2 to maybe be a little bit more like a traditional Volvo. I'm really curious to actually see whether Polestar decides to tune their pilot assist a little bit differently than a normal Volvo, closer to that of an autopilot system than, say, a Mercedes or an Audi. So at the end of the day, it really is just a perception thing in terms of whether one car is more automated than the other. They're actually automated to the exact same degree. So just a quick recap on the reasons why I'm choosing a Polestar 2 over a Tesla Model 3. The design, the practicality over the performance, the Android OS, the quality, and the uniqueness of the vehicle. So again, thank you all for coming and watching. Remember to like this video. Remember to subscribe if you're new to the channel. And if you're a subscriber already, thank you so much for helping me get started on this journey. I'm so excited to put out some more content for you and some more full vehicle reviews. If you have a really cool car or you have a vehicle that you'd like to know more about and maybe see a review done of, email me at the email address here. Thank you again. I'm Eli, and this is AutonoGeeks. Peace.